As you explore your own emotions around climate change, I'll list some of the major emotions that people have around climate change. And as you look at the list, you can see I've divided it between troubling emotions and contributing emotions. That doesn't actually mean whether they're positive or negative. It just means that on the one side, the troubling emotions prevent us from engaging climate, and on the contributing side, those tend to help us engage on climate. And so on the troubling side, helplessness, guilt, grief, fear, and despair. And then on the contributing side, interest, personal efficacy, hope, purpose, anger, and worry. So helplessness. Climate change is a super wicked problem, meaning a highly complex social problem for which there is no clear solution, a need for extensive change in the sense that time is running out. So we naturally feel helpless, a powerful emotion. Responses require large social and political engagement, and there's not a lot of trust in or knowledge of our political system. Helplessness is related to despair. Guilt. Climate communication has created strong associations with guilt. We feel guilty being caught in a system that's destroying the planet, but we don't know how to escape it. One American student, Jocelyn, talked about how no matter what you do, you're going to eco-hell. I feel like that guilt can be really overwhelming when all you hear about is what we're doing wrong. It's like we can maybe cut down on this or that, but you're still going to eco-hell or whatever. Grief. Although Leopold once said, one of the penalties of an ecological education is that one lives alone in a world of wounds. Grief is the emotion that arises from the pain of loss. Only recently have psychotherapists started to describe environmental grief over the loss of natural places. We really don't have ways of expressing these griefs in a socially acceptable way, and so I encourage congregations to find ways to engage in rituals of lament that help us express those griefs. Fear and anxiety. Once we've moved past images of cute polar bears, the images of climate change are scary and can produce fear. One disaster after another, a world gone awry, an apocalyptic hellscape without inhabitant. While fear can motivate immediate action, such as running away from a bear, it's less helpful when the problem is complicated and ongoing, like climate change. Fear and anxiety tend to shut down good thinking rather than aid it. So that takes us from troubling emotions to contributing emotions. Who cares about climate change? In surveying Americans, Anthony Leiserowitz and Nicholas Smith note that the emotions most associated with supportive climate policies are hope, interest, worry, and personal efficacy. I've added purpose and anger to their list from my personal experience. Interest. Finding climate change interesting is obviously going to help. You may not think of this as an emotion, but it's related to other knowledge emotions such as confusion or surprise. When we're curious about a subject, we spend more time with it. There is a sweet spot, something that's new enough to evoke curiosity, but not so far out of our range that we can't imagine figuring it out. Worry. Some emphasize staying away from negative emotions about climate change, but some negative emotions work more deeply in our psyche. As mentioned before, fear and anxiety are problematic because they can shut down creative thinking. Worry allows more intense and ongoing cognitive processing that can eventually lead to improvements and solutions. Personal efficacy. This is the sense that what we do matters. Ben Brapson, Indiana University climate scientist, says, what he likes about Mennonites is our strong sense of personal efficacy. We think that what we do matters. Hope. How can we foster hope? This is actually a more complicated theme than you might imagine, and I actually do a whole session on this at the end. But pastoral theologian Panu Pikala suggests a bifocal vision that keeps both the good and bad in view. Because if we're too pessimistic, people give up. However, if we're too optimistic, people suspect that we're lying. So we need to talk about hope in the midst of tragedy, recognizing losses while also holding on to hope. Anger. While some may see anger as a negative emotion, it often fuels action. Anger is often directed at those most responsible, and they need to be held accountable. Anger tends to lead to less depression, anxiety, and stress, and it leads to collective action, the kind of action that is needed to take on a complex social problem like the climate. And finally, purpose. Being involved with something critical in life gives us a sense of purpose, much larger than ourselves. This has been what has been so empowering in my personal experience with climate. I feel like what I'm doing is important, and I'm doing my part with the gifts I have to cooperate with the spirit of life. It's critical to my future, the future of my family, the future of humans, and all creatures. It's hard to get more purposeful than that.